Terrifying things people found in their basements. We're going to dive in. I'm Nathan, musician. How about we talk about the first thing and let's go there? What if you fell into a well? Yeah. Like you're just chilling and helping a friend move and you step on a piece of, well, what you think is the floor and you fall quite a distance, like a long distance. Yes. So the story goes this is a very old house, and the floor itself was built over a well. Why was it built over a well? Don't have a clue. Nonetheless, a friend was helping a friend move, and they stepped on a piece of the floor, which was covering the well, and they started to fall and kept falling, but they ended up bracing themselves against the wall. They don't know how deep the well was. Thankfully, the individual was able to stop. I don't want to ever fall into a well. My friend had a well at their house, and you got to filter that water or your teeth will rot out. I'm Nathan. I spent 13 years in the funeral profession. My songs are inspired by my works, and actually my single last time is number 13 at Radio Nationwide, and it's number 22 as of today at Billboard, but that always is changing. Let's talk about bodies. Let the bodies. Let's talk about finding a dead body in your basement. No, really, not just the dead body, but the skeleton. And this is how it goes. His name's Michael Carroll. And Michael Carroll's father's bones, you follow me? Michael Carroll's father's bones are found in his basement. Now, what the hey? Now, if you backtrack, Michael Carroll's dad went missing over 30 years ago. And Michael Carroll decides to purchase his childhood home, move into his childhood home. Now, his mom always said that he went to get cigarettes and left with his Korean lover. They find these bones in the basement, and DNA comes back, and it is absolutely Michael Carroll's father. Well, Michael Carroll's mother had died a few years before this finding. So, can't really ask, hey, Mrs. Carroll, did you lie to me and tell me that Dad went to the gas station to get cigarettes and leave with his Korean girlfriend? When in all reality, you never will know, I don't suppose. Nonetheless, could you imagine just hanging out in your basement? You go into your unfinished area because there's always this area that's unfinished, especially your older ones, and you just kind of meandering around and you find a body. That's wild. It's very, very wild. I had done a short on this, by the way. And be sure to follow, be sure to subscribe here and click the bell to be notified when I release new content. But I released a short, and one of the comments was like, hey, I'm an electrician, and I have found some very interesting things in crawl spaces. And they were talking about finding like female underwear. It's like, why are female underwear in the crawl space? Now, if you want to get really, I won't even go there. I mean, just the things that you find in houses, but we're going to dive in and keep going. We're going to keep going to the next crazy, bizarre, scary thing found in a basement. What about an unusual pet? How about a 6 foot, 200-pound alligator in the basement? Yeah, there was some pipes that needed to be worked on. A plumber goes into the basement to see a massive caged alligator. Notifies authorities, and the authorities come, and the guy's like, this is my pet. I've had this pet for 26 years. 26. The pet's happy since they can talk. Have you ever seen those videos of those people that put their chins on the... It's really dumb. Like if an alligator's mouth is closed, apparently it's really weak, but if it's open and but anyway, they put their chin. It's really, really dumb. I don't know how this person got the alligator, I guess as a baby, as like a little guy, and then they're like, hey, I mean, who wants to have an alligator? I almost think about that in the similar sense of like a pet snail or a pet snake. I mean, tell me in the comments below, like what, I don't mean to say they don't have any purpose, but what's the purpose of a pet snake? I mean, like, really, do you feel that they provide you like comfort and are able to be nurturing and sweet and snuggly? I don't know. You tell me in the comments below. I would love to read those. I remember we found a gardener snake, and we had a fish tank, a tiny little fish tank for goldfish. And you know how you have the little castles in there. Well, anyway, we thought the snake got out, but I was just a dumb 6th grader. The thing coiled up in the castle into this tiny thing. We didn't feed it for weeks, but apparently they can survive for quite some time. We freed it. It's probably living its best life. It's probably like 100 feet long now. That's what I would think. Yeah. I'm scared to death of snakes. You have to have a snake in your hands or a spider in your hands. Let me know in the comments, which one do you choose? Next on the list is uninvited guests and roommates. So you go to college, you know how you room with your friend, and then next thing you know, you hate each other. Not really. I hope that's not the case. But some people are just like, hey, I don't know anybody. I don't know you, but will you roommate with me? And they turn out to be like great friends. Well, what if you are in this house with 10 people? It's a big, nasty college house. When I say big and nasty, let's just go ahead and assume it's nasty. And it has all these rooms and multiple floors, and everybody knows everybody. Well, one day they're just hanging out, and they go to the basement to do laundry, always in the basement, and they see Jeremy in there. And there's like a bed, and he's got like a toaster oven and just some weird stuff hanging out. And they're like, who are you? They're like, I'm Jeremy. I'm so-and-so's cousin. The other roommate that's 2 stories up. It's not jiving well. And they go back up the stairs, and later in the afternoon, they're able to connect with the cousin. And the cousin's like, I don't know what you're talking about. They go back downstairs. Jeremy's gone, but some of his stuff's just chilling there. So they've got a frogger. It's frogging. It's a real thing. Jeremy was an uninvited guest. He got in through, you know, those cellars like on the side where you could climb into. Yeah, he broke in and was squatting. He was just hanging out, living his best life in the basement. I don't know where he went to the bathroom. I don't know where he showered, but he was there for a little bit of time. Mortifying. Like people, there are stories of people having secret passageways in homes that they purchase. They don't know about them for a while. They hear certain things, they open it, and then you should see there's some crazy videos. That's a rabbit hole in and of itself. And that, my friends, is reason for more therapy. Speaking of, let me know in the comments below if you found someone frogging, living in your basement. How would you handle that? Let me know. Go ahead and subscribe, click the bell so you can be notified when I release content. We're going to go into the next one right now. Next on the list, what about some historical finds in Connecticut, for instance? In the basement, they found 3 skeletons of Revolutionary War soldiers in the basement. That is wild. So with all of the technology that we now have, they're able to say that these soldiers and their age ranges. Now, I don't know how granular it's gotten as far as if they're able to figure out the lineage, but to find Revolutionary War soldiers and their remains, that would make you believe that the house, of course, wasn't built yet. It was built over top of. What was there? What was in that spot previously? And you wouldn't necessarily think, and maybe I'm wrong, but Revolutionary War soldiers in Connecticut? It's interesting. It's very interesting. There are so many amazingly just crazy stories surrounding Revolutionary War and the Civil War and all of these battlefields and these battlefield states and cities. There's tons of artifacts. I recently just saw someone that I am connected to. They do metal detecting, and they found a cannonball from dating back to the Civil War. It was amazing. It's amazing what is just right below our feet. And it's those things that you want to be mindful of, honoring toward. If you found a skeleton in your basement, what would you do? This isn't a trick question. What would be the first thing that you'd do? Would you take a picture of it and like upload it to social media? I would hope not. Would you call law enforcement? I would hope so, because they would have to then send out police. and detectives, and then the coroner. I wonder how that does work, though. To have skeleton from Revolutionary War that's dated back. Obviously, it took some investigating to figure that out, but do they dispatch the coroner? Because the coroner is to pronounce someone dead. And not to be funny, but do they have to pronounce them dead? Don't know. Speaking of snakes, and this was not intended for any, this was just coincidence. And speaking of snakes, not that this was intended, this is just coincidental. What about the family in Colorado? They move into this house and they see the floor is making noise, and they see from the boards snakes. Not just one or two or 30, 150 snakes. They got under the deck, they got under the house, and they were just slithering away underneath the feet of this couple. And 50. That, my friends, is a nightmare for me to think about. I don't know whether they were poisonous or not. I would assume that they were, some of them, if not all of them, because Colorado is just riddled with poisonous things and animals. And nonetheless, I would burn the house down. I would burn the house down, call the insurance company and tell them, I burned the house down. I don't want to collect any fraudulent insurance money. I burned that thing down because there are snakes in there. Nonetheless, they brought in pest control individuals. They came and they actually captured every snake and put it back into the wild, safe and sound. No snake was harmed in the making of this long-form YouTube video or the family. They still live there, by the way. Everything's fine. Everything's fine. Let me know in the comments below, honestly, how would you handle that? There's a snake in my boots. Yeah, there is. And under your deck and coming out your toilet. Oh my gosh, could you imagine trying to use the restroom and a snake? Because you hear about that all the time. They come through the pipes and come out of the toilet. What would you do there? Now we're really getting in the weeds. Oh, next on the list, it was found that a war relic was being housed. Yeah, not just a war relic like a small cannonball or perhaps maybe a handgun like a pistol from World War II. No. A Panther tank from World War II was in the basement of this resident's home. Now, I understand, like, let's say you're a U.S. soldier and you capture an area where Nazi Germany, where the SS had, and you find like a flag and you fold it up and you take it for personal, hey, I was there, a memento of sorts, right? It's not something that you are wanting to relish upon all the time, but you're proud of your service to the country, you're proud of the victory, you're proud of your sacrifice and those who lost their lives and paid the ultimate. So you take a little piece. You take a freaking Panther tank. How did it get there? So many questions. All this is heavily frowned upon. He was stated to say, hey, I was actually going to sell it to the United States because they would house it in a museum, which I can understand. That would be a great story and piece to have showcased in a museum as an artifact to say, hey, here's a World War II German tank that was obviously used in the war. This is what it looked like. It just so happened to be in the basement of this man's house in Germany. Let me know in the comments below. I don't even know what to ask. I don't know. Well, I think that's pretty badass if you ask me. I mean, really, to say that, hey, there's a tank in my basement. Could you imagine? You're at school with your friends, you're in 5th grade. It's like, you want to come over this weekend? We can shoot baskets and listen to the Master P record while we play basketball. No. Do you want to come to my house? I've got a German tank in my basement. I talked about this earlier, like you fall into a well and then the next family goes and then they see a secret chapel. It's real. That really is. A couple find this secret chapel hidden, and it's obviously to hide from, I guess, being persecuted for prayer, for being a Christian. There were so many being persecuted, so they would pray in secret, and they would create, in this instance, they literally dug out a chapel, a church, under their house, in their basement, and it is old. And this family I can't imagine going behind the cupboard. Like you walk through the cupboard of I picture Narnia, you go through your little closet of sorts and you end up in a chapel. I think that would be amazing. I think it would be actually quite the spectacle to have some hidden space and place. I remember one of the funeral homes that I was in, you had this very, very, I mean, it was built in 1860, and this furnace, this system was in the basement, massive system. It was probably bigger than a Suburban, not kidding. And you go back through this area, and then there's this old wooden door, and you go back even further. I think those rooms are amazing. That's the room in the event that I was still there and someone came under fire and everybody was going to get killed. I would go and hide back there. No one would ever find you, ever in a million years. I think it's interesting that people believed in something so much, i.e. wanting to practice their faith, wanting to worship, that they were willing to create a space in private. No telling how long it took. Obviously, the structure was there. That's now the home. Before, because they had to dig it out and create this place. It's amazing. It's kind of like the Shawshank Redemption, but not. Like he spent forever digging that hole. And just, you remember he like dropped through his pants. Anyway, you're here. This is my real estate. I'm glad you're here. Be sure to subscribe and click the bell to be notified. What would you do? How would you, if you could picture your perfect space? Let's call it the chapel. You have your man cave, but let's call it the chapel. Like, what would it look like? Let me know in the comments below. What would you have in there? Would you do anything really fun? Would you have like, those blow up chairs? Okay, Nathan, shut up. Next on the list of crazy things found in the basement, you remember me talking about the electrician finding a pair of women's underwear in the crawl space. How would it be for you to find a bear hibernating in your basement, under your house, like the family in California? A bear hibernating. Have you ever seen a bear in real life? Not like at a zoo, not at no, I'm talking, you go, you hang out, you go to the grocery store, like in Gatlinburg or Pigeon Forge. It's such a Kentucky thing to do. It's like, hey, let's all go to Gatlinburg. You go to Gatlinburg, you go to the cabins, you get out of your car, and you just got mama bear, daddy bear, and baby bear just wandering around. They're like 50 feet from you. That's scary. I wonder what this family did. Shoo bear, get out of here, bear. No way. I mean, they look really cute. Have you ever watched one and like on a video climb a tree? How fast they move? Or did you ever see the movie where Leonardo DiCaprio gets just annihilated by a bear, gets mauled by a bear? What about Cocaine Bear? Those bears are scary. They're really pretty though. Brown bear or black bear? Let me know in the comments. Or polar bear, or panda bear, or koala bear. Let's take a vote. Save the best for last. Picture yourself coming home from work. You're exhausted. You had a great day, but you just want to kick your feet up. You go downstairs in your basement and you see some nut job, butt naked, jumping on your furniture, hitting his head on the ceiling, covered in his own feces, rubbing his feces all over your basement. That happened to a family. Law enforcement were called to a residence. The family said, there's a naked man in my basement with poop all over him. True story. Law enforcement go down into the basement to, yeah, absolutely, find a man butt naked, jumping all over their furniture, feces everywhere, feces all over him. The man was obviously troubled, to say the least. And what are you going to do as law enforcement? I have law enforcement friends, and I know that they have gloves, but in this instance, you have a man that's totally naked and totally covered in feces. The gloves aren't going to matter because you're going to get poop on you. What has this channel become? I can't imagine. I could think of 100 other things that I would rather find in the basement than a naked man with feces all over him. I mean, what do you say? It's like, hey, buddy, the cleanup. We wouldn't even know where to begin. I mean, like, who do you want to call on that? Hey, Serve Pro. Like, no thanks. I'd rather not. I will absolutely exit stage left. You find all kinds of stuff in basements. It's amazing. Like the whole moral of this story is from the outside, don't judge a book by its cover. We'll say that, because outside it looks really aesthetically pleasing, and inside, no telling what crazy shit goes on. You might actually have poop everywhere, and like hoarders. Have you ever seen a hoarder? Their houses, it's amazing. I have been to numerous hoarders' homes. My first death call was a hoarder. She collected filing cabinets and wheelchairs. It was absolutely wild. I've seen a hoarder who was actually a well-to-do and prominent individual who collected bouncy balls, and it looked like a dollar store. All the aisles, and sections. The house was that. There were suitcases. It's amazing. It's amazing. So no telling what their basement looked like, and they had a basement. Let me know in the comments below your find if you have a basement, or maybe your friend has a basement. What's the weirdest thing that you have found in a basement? Let me know in the comments below. I would love to know, and that'll spark a future video. As always, be sure to subscribe here. Click the bell to be notified when I release exclusive content right here on YouTube. And every Thursday night when we go live, I read your questions and answer them on the live. So ask your questions in the comments, and I might just make a video. I might just call you out in a live and answer it for you. That's all for this video. I am going to go into the basement and make sure that there's not poop again. I mean, you have sump pumps because basements tend to flood, but does insurance cover that? Like the poop? Let me know, insurance agents.